Let's say a couple words.
Hello.
Hello.
Both of us? Sweet.
So, what story are we gonna
I
share?
don't even know.
There's a lot. There's a scary story when we almost got stabbed. Remember when you made me climb Cocoa Head for the third time? You didn't even come. You got a burger right here.
Oh, I do?
Yeah. Okay. What about that crazy drunk El Salvadorian? It was just in my head. Frick, I forgot.
Dude, we should just tell Shaolin's story.
Let's do it.
All right. So I'll get it started. So there was this guy in the ward. Nobody really knew who he was or like what his name was. Like we asked the bishop what his name was. Like nobody knew who he was. He just kind of like floated into the ward.
He's like, "How you doing, brothers? Thank you for your labor of love. You guys keep spreading the word."
Pretty much. But anyways, we got a referral from this guy. He's like, yeah, one of my friends, he just came in from China and he's here to study and he wants to learn more about the church. And I was like, do people even know about the church in China? I didn't know. And so anyways, we meet up with him and we finally get over to his house the first time and he speaks zero English whatsoever.
None. Only Chinese.
And so we don't understand, we can't even talk to him, so we don't know, what he believes about God or anything.
We don't even know, where he's from or really his name.
Yeah, literally. So he told us to call him John, I think,
Yeah.
after a while. Yeah, he just told us to call him John, which is fine. So we started calling him John. And we're, trying to teach him about God, and we don't know if he even knows about God. And so we pull out our little, plan of salvation, cartoon figures and stuff like that. And so we, pull out one. What did we even use to represent God? We were like, this is God.
I don't even know.
I don't even know. We didn't even know what we were doing. We were making it up on the spot. But we were like, this is God. God
Loves you.
us. But then, after about, 5 minutes, he literally starts understanding
Everything.
everything we're saying.
Literally. He would have his phone and he would, translate certain words from, English into Chinese so you'd understand them better. But, just like a light bulb went off his head. Just got everything.
It was insane. And, the way we were, we could understand what he was saying to us, even though it was, super broken, and, we were teaching in a way that he could understand. And it was, the craziest. I didn't really understand the gift of tongues, but, if there was ever a gift of tongues, that had to be it. Neither of us could speak the same language as the other, but we understood each other perfectly throughout the entire lesson.
I just remember we would teach him and we'd get through one point at a time and be like, okay, so God loves you, and that was a whole lesson. And then we have to move on and be like, all right, faith is this, and that was a whole lesson because he just didn't speak English and it was hard, but he grasped everything. We'd have certain members would be able to come that could translate that spoke, but for the most part, we're on our own. And after the lesson, we're just like, I don't know if he gets it. But it's so crazy because this guy's straight from China. He's here with his young son. He's going back to school to get a law degree. And he's just the most humble man you'll ever meet in your life. It's unreal. Tell the first prayer, dude. That was crazy.
Okay, his first prayer, we asked him, so it was the coolest thing. We taught him what prayer was. And at the end of our lesson, we asked him, so would you like to say the prayer? And he was like, oh, sure. And so he closes his eyes,
Bows his
arms,
head
sits down, and just sits in silence for 5 minutes. This is the first time we asked him.
And so
But and we were about to say something.
we're just like this the whole time. We're just like this. I look up.
And we look at each other, we look at him. But then I was about to open my mouth to stop him, and I look at him and he just has the most serene expression on his face. And I was smacked with the spirit, don't you dare interrupt this man. It was he had just the most peaceful, you could tell he was literally talking to God. It was insane. It's unreal how much he understood for someone that had no background in the gospel.
His first ever prayer. And we're just sitting there okay, what do we do? What do we say? And this feeling in the room just comes, and it's just unreal powerful. And I'm just like, how long do we wait? I don't know. We can't interrupt it because it's so
Right?
powerful.
And eventually we did. We did have to interrupt him because he was praying for a while. But the first time he prayed out loud, it was literally the same. It was like equally as powerful.
Yeah.
It was like so simple, the words he used.
Because he's doing it in English too, and it's just like, it's basically like how a child is learning how to pray, just like that, but the power behind it was just unbelievable.
It was like we were literally not on planet Earth anymore. Like,
Crazy.
it was unreal.
But just teaching him was so fun because you would see him just light up as he'd grasp an idea and how much he would love to come to church even though he didn't understand a single word anything was saying. Like, everything. He would read the scriptures, he'd read the pamphlets. Do you remember what it was like when we asked him to be baptized, what he said? Comes to the point where, like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. So he didn't have a translator, and we invited him to be baptized. And he, like, puts it in his phone, like, baptism, what's that? He goes, oh, you want me to take bath at church? And we're like, yeah, kind of, in a sense. And we explain a little bit more, and he's just like, yes, okay, yes.
Yes.
And
Super willing.
oh my gosh, it's unreal. And so we're teaching him, and then it comes time for his baptism. And it was just so unreal and spiritual. You baptized him. Tell him about that.
Gosh. Oh, okay. So we're in the Tabernacle. It's like the main church building in Hawaii. It's in Honolulu. And we're baptizing him in the font there. And so I was down in the water with him. And like I baptized him. He came up out of the water. And like the expression on his face was just like so casual. I was like, oh, okay. And I like went in for a hug. And he was like, good, good. And he was like happy. And then he just walked out. And I was like, wow. That was like maybe like one of the least like
Really anticlimactic.
impactful, yeah, like baptism. But then after his baptism, we all went into the chapel, and at the end, they invited him up to come bear his testimony. And we weren't really ready for that. Like, we didn't know they were going to ask him to do that, but he came up, and he bore the most incredible testimony. He did it in Chinese, but they translated it into English. What he said...
I actually have it right here, word for
dude,
word.
read it.
So he bears his testimony in Chinese as it's being translated, and someone transcribed it. And this is word for word what he said after he got baptized. In his own words, I quote, "It was very special for me to come to Hawaii and learn the gospel. I know that God lives and Jesus is real. Just now when I got baptized, leaving the cold water into the warm air, I felt I was leaving hell into the warmth of the gospel. God is like the sun that warms us. Why do some people not feel the warmth of God? It could be because no one tells them about the Bible and Book of Mormon. It also requires someone to be a good heart to accept it. Just like the window, if it is clean, you can see the sun shine through it. You can feel it." Straight from China, never heard about Jesus Christ, never known about any church, never prayed, never done any of it. It was 1 month and 1 day from the time we first taught him that he was baptized. And he bore that testimony.
That testimony. And he would just say the most profound things. I remember one day we were in the middle of a lesson. He wasn't really saying much, as usual. But he just like, we asked what God is to him. And he was like, well, if you believe in him, you can feel him. But if you doubt him, he goes away. And I was like, who are you?
It's so profound and so simple, the things he would say.
So crazy.
And what's crazy is after that, after we get transferred out, he stopped attending our ward because they started up a Chinese group in Honolulu. And he started going to that, and don't know exactly what happened with him, but all I know is, last I heard, he was in it. He had received the Aaronic priesthood, and he was just... Oh, do you remember the letter that he got after he was baptized?
Oh, man. Crazy. From the Chinese administrative unit. Turns out there's a church in China. They just can't go by the name the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They operate under the name the Chinese administrative unit. And there are general authorities working in China leading the church. But the thing is, it all has to be done inside homes. They can't have public church buildings. They can't really proselyte. They do it within families and close friends. Crazy. There are so many members of the church that we didn't know about. And as soon as they found out he was baptized, he got a letter like less than a week later from the general authorities in China inviting him to contact his local bishop.
Yeah. It was like, if you ever come back to China, when you do, here's this number, call it, we'll put you in contact with your local priesthood leader. It's just like, it's crazy.
Insane.
It's just unreal. But that was definitely one of the most spiritual and just amazing miracles right there, to have Shaolin get baptized.